If you're in the market to find a good bargain of a lens, I may have just the right lens to make your taste buds tingle with joy. It's a fully manual specifically made for Sony, Panasonic and Fuji crop sensor bodies. Without further ado, let me introduce you to this bokeh-licious lens from, you guessed it, China. The 7Artisans 25 1.8. This lens comes in two color variants, a black version and also a silver one. I so happen to have bought mine secondhand and they only had it in silver at the time, which is actually a good thing since my Fuji X-T3 is also in silver. This lens cost a mere $70 for a new one, and you can pick one for even cheaper if you manage to find a used one, which is in my opinion really worth it because it gives so much bang for your buck without breaking the bank. Firstly, let's talk about the general build quality of this lens. To be honest with you, I was definitely pleasantly surprised that for its price we have an all metal construction lens, minus the lens cap of course, which is definitely made of some cheap kind of plastic, which definitely doesn't surprise me in the least. I mean, hey, I did say the lens is cheap, so they must have saved costs somewhere, right? Now let's talk about the focusing ring on this lens. It feels well oiled and very well dampened. The focus throw is also moderately distant, so it makes it quite easy to focus on your subjects, both for video and photo. But there definitely are times when I tended to miss focus, especially when focusing slightly distant subjects, because not everything in the distance would be in focus if you just left it in infinity. And I think this is perhaps more due to the fact that the lens is wider aperture lens, and that can be quite common at times with these sort of lenses. So stopping it down a few stops may help resolve this issue based on my experience. Okay, as for the aperture ring, it comes from the factory declicked, so for you budding filmmakers out there, this is definitely an advantage over click aperture stop lenses, because it would make things way easier while filming in constantly changing light conditions, and you won't be seeing those sudden jarring changes in exposure that pops up everywhere in your footage like you do when using a click aperture lens while changing your aperture value. So what's the image quality like? In a nutshell, this lens is quite a sharp little beast indeed. In fact, its sharpness can be compared to some really expensive lenses out there, and that is why I think this lens is quite a steal for its price. Generally speaking, the lens is way sharper around the edges too compared to the 7Artisans 35 1.2. I know, I guess that's not really a proper comparison, but it's just to give you a rough idea of just how much sharper it is compared to that lens. Anyway, if you'd like to watch that review, please click on the right hand side to watch it. Now back to the lens. As for chromatic aberrations and lens flare, it definitely isn't as well controlled as more expensive lenses out there. But hey, you can't always have everything all the time, right? Especially at this price point. Also, a point that I have to mention, the bokeh on this lens is really quite pleasant, and you get really nice bokehs, especially if you get your subject matter really close and there's a good separation between the subject matter and also the background, so that's a major plus here. Okay, so in conclusion, who do I think this lens is really meant for? To me, I think this lens will mainly appeal to those seeking a manual lens within a really tight budget. At 25mm, it is roughly the equivalent of a 35mm focal range on a full frame camera, and that is a good focal range as it's wide enough but yet not too wide. I think those seeking for a small, light form factor will definitely find this lens appealing, and also those who aren't too fussed about shooting fast-moving subjects will love this lens. However, if you are seeking a fast-focusing run-and-gun kind of lens at this focal range, I think you may want to steer away from this lens, as it's definitely not going to be as fast as any autofocus lenses out there. Unless, of course, you really practice on your focusing skills, that is. It's a lens to use, in my opinion, in situations where you know you have time to focus the lens, or situations that you are very familiar with the subject, or even for that matter, in pre-planned sort of shoots. I found it quite nice to use too as a casual street photography lens. However, again, you would need to practice on your focusing skills to nail focusing quickly, so you need to bear these things in mind. So in a nutshell, at $70, it doesn't even matter if you want to give this lens a try. It's not gonna make you suddenly go broke, unless of course you really don't have a job, and in any case, I think then you really should get this lens and make some money. Anyway, if you did like this review, do give us a thumbs up and please do subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys.